GE, which is our real money stock of the day, is down over 5%. How should investors react to this?
All right, well, look, this was really tour de force by Steve Tusa. I mean, basically did a very negative piece right before he did the interview with Larry Culp and got out that there's a negative industrial cash flow. And that was surprising. Larry basically gutted 2019. It's very hard to own a stock where 2019 is gutted. I was going over with Dollar Tree this morning. I mean, they have a negative first half, but they gave you hope for the second half. You see that stock's up. You can't take away hope. And Culp took away hope. And it's really rather remarkable because it's a reminder that the run-up over 10 was just too enthusiastic. That's all it was too enthusiastic. There's too much wood to chop. And 2019 is a wood chopping year.
And Tusa said that his price target of $6 is generous.
Yeah, that was a little gratuitous, but I do love the guy, man. Guy has flair. But you know, he was right. Now you could argue, wait a sec, he missed 6 to 12, 6 to 11. But yeah, I'm often attacked like that. It'll be like, well, look, I said it was going to be 6 at 20, and then I reiterated at 10, and then it went to 6, and I'm not a trader of G. This is kind of where I'm saying that, what I get attacked on is like, look, Jim, Apple went from 200 to 160, you crushed me. And I said, well, I started telling people to buy it at 5, and there has to be room to be an investor on the long side. There has to be room to investor on the sell side. And what Tusa is basically saying is, look, nothing's changed as positive. Tomorrow's the long-term care meeting. It looks like the industrial cash flow was as bad as he thought. It was a confirmation of what Tusa's been saying. And therefore, he made a confirmation of a 6 target. He's been incredibly consistent.
Based on Tusa's note, if I have a holding in GE, how should I react?
You can sell it and then buy it back. I mean, I've got to tell you, he said something really interesting, which is that I'd say the preponderance of people who've been writing about GE all the way down is like, stick by buy but cutting my price target, stick by buy but cutting numbers. He says that has to end. It just, in order to get a buy, I feel the same way about CVS. I mean, everybody, we had a towel throw CVS. You can't, Karen Cramer used to say, all right, Maiden in the Volcano time. And Maiden in the Volcano man actually wrote a piece about this in New York Magazine. Maiden in the Volcano said sacrifice the stock. And only then will the gods appease you. GE. Sacrifice the stock. It was about, we sacrificed Altera, which was then ultimately bought by Intel. Because I had all these semis, Xilinx and Altera. At that point, they were 1 and 2. They were big competitors. And she goes, listen, I'm throwing Altera into the volcano. And immediately we got a bottom. That's the way it is.
Now, you just mentioned Dollar Tree, and I want to talk about that for a hot second.
I bet you, because they're on tonight. Gary Philbin's on tonight, made money. He's sensational. He came on at 84. He said, no more Mr. Nice Guy. We're going to redo the Family Dollars, and if we don't get a good result, we're going to close them. And he's closing. Now, they got 8,000 of them, but actually fewer than 8,000. He's closing the bad ones. He's not closing my Asbury one. I begged him to. He said he's going to fix it up, and we're going to do the show from there. I have a great one in Neptune. I've got a great one in the Hamptons. Fabulous one in Philadelphia. But the Family Dollars are really awful. And he's going to remake them, re-banner some of them. He's doing some tests. They're doing some tests above over dollar stuff. Over dollar.
Then they'd have to change their name.
But dollar plus. But here's what I think. Today's a forgiving day. I mean, Ross was a disappointing quarter. The stock is up.
So is that
Urban
why
Outfitters,
Dollar Tree is up despite the fact that they had weaker than expected
Well,
forecasts?
I think when you go look at Dollar Tree, what they're really saying is this is what Larry Culp didn't give you. We're sacrificing the first half to do rebrand and he's got a term for when they put in the new stuff in the store. But what's really happened here is people say, all right, I believe Gary. I'll wait to see what happens in the second half. And some people are saying, all right, I'll go buy some. And the stock didn't go down. Now, remember, the Dow's down. A lot of areas are down today, but retail's been the standout. This fits my theory that the government shutdown hurt January. February was hurt a little bit by weather. But you have to be more optimistic than people are.
Now, I interrupted you there, but I am curious to hear what you have to say about why this is a giving day and what that means.
Why it's a what day?
Giving day.
Well, I mean, it's forgiving because what's happened is if you read Ross Stores, the whole conference call is about how they blew women's apparel. If you read Urban Outfitters, the whole conference call is about how they did some misdirected fashion and didn't execute well. So if in a vacuum, you would think that Ross would be down to 91 and Urban would be at 29, which is where they were at night. And it turned out that the cowboys, the people who insist on trading in after hours, got it completely wrong. And I really think that whoever's doing that, if you're watching, stop losing money. It's a really terrible thing. I mean, if I want to do what you guys doing, I have I'm building a very interesting chimney fireplace in Italy. It's so I can make pizzas, and I think that I want these traders to come over with me to Tuscany and take money and let me start the fire with their money, because it's more useful to make a pizza with that money than to put it to sell Dollar Tree with it, or to short it. And these are people. Look, it's a designer's chimney. I got Pietro to do it. I think it's going to be killer, and I'd take your dollars any day and shove it in there and burn and get that thing going. Now, alternatively, if you don't want to go there, we have a place called the Longshoreman, where we have two brick up. Are
you going to burn money in the Longshoreman?
No, I want them. Oh. I want their money. I want to take their money, which they're losing by trading in after hours, and start a fire so that we can really get some money pizzas going. Last time we had a clam pizza and we had a Brussels sprout pizza. It was delicious. They were both good. I have to cut back. I've gained too much weight since the Longshoreman. But these guys would be great because, we're chronically short wood. So we'll just take all the money that they run and we'll burn it because it's better use. It's more useful than what they do.
I mean, pizzas are always my preference when
I go out. You got to come over.
Yeah, I do.
These little pizzas. I'm trying, I was on Twilio, which is a stock I like very much. It's come down big. To learn how to code to be able to push pizza specials, look out.
No, Jim, I want to talk to you. We have to talk about this really quickly because
sure.
We have to serve the rest of it for Action Alerts Plus.
Yeah,
but Johnson & Johnson.
All right, so Savitrol, esketamine.
What should investors...
Look,
I'm curious...
I brought a piece. There's it wasn't meant to be, but there's a article in the USA Today. We had some people from USA Today worked at the company, really fabulous job. I can't find my USA Today, it's too bad. But what it is suicide is a terrible epidemic in this country. Suicide from depression. And the reason why it's so bad is that we don't have it. There hasn't been a new drug invented in 40 years. And the other ones are very slow acting. My hope is, by the way, ketamine drip is 100% rid of depression. This is probably about 50 for some, maybe a little bit more. It's nose spray. But we don't have anything for major depression. And suddenly J&J comes along. Now, a lot of people, all the articles are such nonsense. They say, well, wait a second, all it is a variant of Special K. Well, I mean, look, my wife had, she threw her, elbow out. She basically dislocated her elbow. And they had to pull it out and put it back in, which is something they do in the NFL on the sidelines all the time. And the doctor told me, okay, look, we're going to do this, and simultaneously we're going to give her a shot of ketamine, and you should leave the hospital. And I said, why? I'll just stand outside. She goes, no, because you will hear her scream. So, I mean, she screamed so loud that it reverberated right outside the hospital. This was in the Hamptons. I rushed back in, and she goes, did I yell anything? And I said, just was I bad? I said, no. She goes, because, I didn't really feel anything. Well, that's ketamine. That's the one that the doctors use. This is going to be a nose spray, and it's going to cut down the 40,000 people who committed suicide last year. I got to tell you, this is a godsend. I am going to be talking this up. This is I have a daughter who works in the mental health field, and this is all we talk about when we talk about mental health, which is saving lives from major depression. And this could be amazing. My daughter doesn't talk about this drug. She talks about holistic, mind, body, which is really what you have to do if you want long term. But this thing short term, it could be great, especially for post-traumatic stress, PTSD. For veterans commit suicide in horrible numbers. And I salute Alex Skorsky, who has made this his personal issue. And I salute Scott Gottlieb for approving it, because a lot of people felt that it was not right because they're worried about off-label use. It's going to be very hard to get, but if you get it, I think it's going to change the healthcare system because it's not going to be opiates, it's not addictive, and it's very powerful.
So you've said a lot of positive things. As an investor...
I think the numbers are way too low for J&J. Now remember, J&J is still tainted
So what should I do as an investor?
By J&J. J&J is still tainted by the talc, which I think that we realized that there were two articles at the same time, the plaintiff's bar playing havoc. I continue to believe that the talc story is not a nothing burger, because you always have to understand asbestos, but that's no longer front of mind, and this Savitrol is, and you should buy it. The out years, people talk about $500 million in 2023. I think that's way too low. I expect that to happen next year. This is a really big drug. And you have to, if you know the mental health community, like I do, you would know how big this is. It's much bigger than people think.
Now, before we switch over to Action Alerts Plus, I've got an investor education question for you. And it has to do with Culp because, we're looking at GE, and I'm wondering, my question for you is, should you put your faith in a CEO when a company's balance sheet just doesn't cut it?
Okay, that's a great question. I think balance sheets trump everything. So until the balance sheet has, people say that Larry's got optionality, but you got to fix that balance sheet before the wonder of Culp will start paying off. Doesn't mean that he's not doing it, but you can't, until you get through the wood chop phase, no matter how good Culp is, and Culp is the best, it's just not going to make you money, and that's what I think your question is. And the answer is that balance sheet issues trump all.
All right, Jim, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
You can find us over on actionalertsplus.com.